The New York Islanders played well but fell in a shootout 2-1 to the Nashville Predators. We'll talk about why this was a good game and one weird stat that says a lot about this team.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thank you for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today and talk a little Islanders hockey, and we've got a lot to discuss. A very exciting shootout loss to the Nashville Predators. We'll break that game down, talk about our hero and go to the game, our key takeaways, and we'll look at a strange statistic that says a lot about the New York Islanders, both in this game and for their entire season. We'll also have a full preview of Saturday's big game against the Minnesota Wild and why the Islanders may be catching the Wild at the right time. Let's get started with this game. And last night, first of all, Nashville. For whatever reason, the New York Islanders just can't seem to catch a break and win a game in Nashville. It is frustrating. It is difficult to deal with. They have been a better team than the Preds for a while, as far as many of the most recent trips out to Music City, but they can't seem to win. And this game last night, you go 65 minutes of hockey, and the score is 1-1. And you could look at the box score if you didn't watch the game and say, oh, wow, 1-1 game, boring game. Not even close. And I think this goes back to something that we've been saying on the show for a while. The skating of this team is been so much better this year. And think about it. You've got a healthy Matthew Barzal. You've got a healthy Anthony Duclair. You've got Matthew Schaefer added to the mix. Jonathan Drouin added to the mix. Again, is he producing offensively enough? No. But can he skate quickly? Yes. You bring back Tony DeAngelo for a year. He can skate quickly. Emil Heineman, Simon Holmstrom, these guys may not be speed demons, but they can skate well and quickly. This game was just an entertaining game, end-to-end hockey, and it was a great game to watch. The frustrating thing about this game was that David Rittich played so well. Officially 26 saves in 27 shots. Yeah, that's a .963 save percentage. UC Saros at the other end, 30 saves in 31 shots. That's a .968 save percentage. But this game had everything except a lot of goals. You had end-to-end action. You had a lot of great saves, some scrambles in front of the net. You had some physicality. You don't always expect physicality in a game between a team from the Eastern Conference versus a team from the Western Conference. But this game had it. And obviously, Barry Trotz is the GM of the Predators. It shouldn't surprise us the style of hockey that they're going to play. But this was a great game to watch. And the only goal of this game, Simon Holmstrom gets the goal, but boy, Scott Mayfield made a great play, pinched in, passed the puck to himself behind the net, went behind the net, made a perfect pass to Holmstrom, who put it home, and it was 1-0 Islanders. And it was just a great play by Mayfield, a good job by Holmstrom. He didn't get the puck on his stick cleanly right away. He kind of had to fight for it, but he did. He had an open side of the net. He put it home. Great to see that. And the Islanders were off and running. And then they give up with less than a minute left in the second period. A shorthanded goal by Ryan O'Reilly. And on that play, the Islanders are caught up ice. And unfortunately, it's Heineman and Drouin who are the closest players who got back on O'Reilly. They both were kind of flat-footed, lost the race to the puck, and O'Reilly puts the puck home. And the Islanders just cannot catch a break. The game ends 1-1. And then you go to the skills competition, and the Islanders only give up one goal, but can't score one. And it ends in a 2-1 loss. You get the point. You would rather have had two, but again, this is a 7-game road trip. I would love to get at least 9 points. So you got the 1 point tonight, and let's see where you go from there. But this team was skating. This team was creating. This team blocked a lot of shots. And just, I cannot complain about the way they played. Anders Lee, by the way, in the middle of a couple of these scrums tonight. And I just kind of wonder, I have been critical of Lee in the past when he did not step up and get involved, especially when Matthew Schaefer was being targeted. But, sometimes it looks like Lee is ready to go physically and get his nose right in the middle of everything. And other times, he just kind of shies away. And in this game, he got lucky. He could have easily been called for a goalie interference penalty. They did not call it, but he was right in the middle of the ensuing scrum. So, with Lee, sometimes he's involved in the physical stuff after the whistle. Sometimes he shies away, but you just want a little more consistency from him in that regard, especially because he's wearing the captain's C. As far as the hero and GOAT of the game is concerned, I could go with Holmstrom for the goal. I could go with Mayfield for the beautiful play that he made to set up the goal. But I have to give it to Big Save Dave. Dave Rittich came through in a big way in this game, made some spectacular saves, some scrambles in front of the net where he couldn't quite find the puck, and yet the defensemen were working hard. He was working hard, and he was just outstanding in this game. I think he benefited from having a couple of days off. The fact that Sorokin started the last game on Tuesday was a big help. Rittich was kind of getting worn down after all of the, starting, 8 consecutive games when Sorokin was hurt. So Rittich played really well. He is the hero of the game. And the GOAT of the game, in my mind, has got to be the power play. Because not only did they fail to score in several power play chances, but they gave up that shorthanded goal. And those things are killers. Shorthanded goals take the air out of the tires momentum-wise, and so do goals in the last minute. When you give up a goal in the last minute or you give up a shorthanded goal, this was both, okay? Last minute of a period or maybe first minute of a period. Those goals kind of hurt a little bit more or feel good a little bit more if you're the team scoring them. In this case, giving up a shorty in the final minute of the second period when you had everything going for you. You're up 1-0. You're on the power play. the power play has to be better. And they're still not creating enough chances. And I'll add this one caveat here. Max Shabanov, Jonathan Drouin, they're getting power play time. And on the one hand, I get it, because especially with Bo Horvat unavailable, and by the way, Horvat did not travel to Nashville for this game. He will be, hopefully, according to Matthew Darsh, joining the team midway through the road trip. So we'll keep you posted on that. But I understand you want the guys with the skills out there, but they're not producing. Not 5-on-5, not on the power play. And when guys are in slumps, I'm torn, because on the one hand, yeah, you want to get them going. So you put them out there on the power play. There's a little more time and space. You can maneuver. You can create. I get it. But at the same time, at what point do you send a message and say, you know what? You haven't been scoring. You're not playing up to your potential. Have a seat. Maybe not even for the whole game, but you're not on the power play this game. You're going to sit out and not get that chance. And we'll give it to somebody who is producing. Kind of surprised Anthony Duclair did not get more power play time, but he went back to being more or less not very noticeable in this game. And again, I loved to see him with the 5-point game and the natural hat trick against New Jersey, but doing it consistently, making yourself known and contributing. And it doesn't have to be every game, but let's say most games that it doesn't have to show up on the box score either. You could just play well, get some scoring opportunities, create chances for your teammates. We need more consistency from these guys. And right now we're not getting it. So hero of the game, big save Dave Rittich, go to the game, the power play, for not scoring and, more importantly, for giving up the shorty. All right, we've got more to get to on today's show. We're going to talk about a couple of stats that say a lot about both this game and the Islanders for the season. Plus, we'll preview Saturday's game against Minnesota, and for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a former first-round pick who was traded away and never really lived up to his first-round billing, but the trade was a good one for the New York Islanders. We'll talk about all of that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets. Long queues, endless screens, and prices changing at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly easy to use. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets took just minutes. And one of my favorite features is the view from your seat. Before you buy the tickets, you'll see a panoramic view from your specific seat, so you know exactly what to expect when you get there. And seeing NHL tickets available for as low as $25 makes it easy to plan a game night. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Islanders. It's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. And you'll get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayers Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. So definitely check all of that out. We have the link in the show notes, or go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. There was a couple of weird stats in this game that caught my eye. And I think it says a lot about this team and the way they play. First of all, the Islanders had 23 blocked shots in this game. And think about it. The Predators put 27 shots on goal, and the Islanders blocked 23 shots. 3 by J.G. Pageau, 2 by Emil Heineman, 2 by Cizikas. I mean, we're talking about forwards blocking shots. And then the big shot blocker, 5 for Ryan Polak, 3 for Adam Pelech, 2 for Scott Mayfield, 3 block shots for Cole McWard. He only played 11 minutes and 10 seconds. That willingness to sacrifice your body for the good of the team. Because let's face it, yeah, there's padding, but you take a frozen piece of vulcanized rubber coming at you at 90 miles an hour, sometimes more, it hurts, even if it hits the pads. So the fact that this team was so willing to go out there and block shots tells me, A, this team is buying into whatever Patrick Waugh is selling, and they are playing for each other. There are plenty of reasons to criticize this team for what some of the things they need to do better. But the block shots, I think, just say a lot about where this team is at mentally and what they're willing to do for each other here just past the midpoint mark of the 2025-2026 NHL season. But then there's another statistic that just drove me nuts. We go from block shots to hits. Who do you think led the Islanders in hits? Surprise! Mark Gatcomb, 5 hits in 9 minutes and 3 seconds of action. Gatcomb is almost always the leader in hits. 3 hits for Casey Cizikas. And then you go and look at the defensemen. The Islanders have 6 defensemen dressed for this in every game. Yeah, we mentioned Cole McWard only played 11 minutes, 10 seconds. Matthew Schaefer, almost 29 minutes in this game, 28-53. The Islanders have 6 defensemen. The 6 of them combined to only create 3 hits all game. In 65 minutes of ice time, three hits by 6 defensemen. Now, I know that only 3 of the Islanders' defensemen are defensive-minded / physical type players. Adam Pelech, Ryan Polak, Scott Mayfield. Cole McWard, more of an offensive-minded guy down at Bridgeport. Tony DeAngelo, more of an offensive-minded guy. Matthew Schaefer plays a 200-foot game, still needs to work on his defense a little bit, but at his age and size, I don't expect him to be going out there and throwing the body wildly. But in 65 minutes of hockey, your 6 defensemen had 3 hits, 2 by Scott Mayfield, 1 by Ryan Polak, and that's it? You got away with it tonight. You got the point. You managed to get the game to overtime, get the game to a shootout. Okay. You can't sustain those kind of numbers. There has to be more physicality on this blue line and throughout this lineup. It's just an unusual number to see 3 hits. And, you know, the forwards, they had a lot more. They had 17 hits. Okay, so the team had 20 over the course of the game. But you can't sustain just 3 hits by your defenseman in a hockey game. There are battles for the puck behind the goal, in the corners, in front of the net. You're going to have battles. You have got to be more physical than that. And I understand Patrick Waugh wants to play a high-tempo game, but I'll tell you something. Hits and skating fast and creating time and space with speed are not necessarily mutually exclusive. And I'm not saying the defensemen each have to have 6 hits in a game for like 30 hits or 36 hits, whatever. No. But it's got to be more than 3. And yeah, hits are subjective sometimes, and different arenas give different amount of hits. I get it. You can argue that all you want. But if the number was 7 or 8, I could live with it. But 3, come on. This is not the Ice Capades. It doesn't have to be slap shot, but it's not the Ice Capades. This is hockey. And in the game of hockey, you've got to be more physical than that. So hopefully the Islanders figure out something. And, Alexander Romanov was arguably their most physical defenseman at the start of the season on paper. He's gone for the year. And this is one area. I know he didn't have a great start to the season before he was lost with the injury, but this is an area where they miss him. Because Romanov, essentially, you would put Romanov in the lineup and probably take out Cole McWard or whoever they've been rotating in as the 6th defenseman. And that would add more physicality. But I will say this. And a lot of people have been talking, oh, yeah, the Islanders need to add a goal scorer. Yes, they do. They need to add some sandpaper, whether it's on forward or defenseman. Yes, they do. But they need a 6th defenseman because rotating through guys coming up from the AHL is a stopgap manner of addressing this situation. And right now, this team is trying to cover up for whoever that 6th defenseman is. When you have a guy, and this is not a knock specifically at Cole McWard, who I like and I'm rooting for, but when you have a defenseman who's only on the ice for 11 minutes a game, you are clearly not confident in that player's ability to sustain things at the NHL level at this point in time. So go out there at some point. It doesn't have to be a guy who will cost you an arm and a leg. You could trade one of the surplus forwards. I bring up Maxim Siplikov only because he doesn't seem to fit the system very well, and he's not even playing. But go out there and bring in a bigger defensive, physical defenseman. Could be a third pair guy who will give you a solid 16 to 18 minutes a night and allow the team to be more physical and more balanced. And let's get more than 3 hits from 6 defensemen in 65 minutes in a game. We have got more to discuss on today's show. Let's talk about Saturday's game in Minnesota against the Wild. We'll have that and our Islanders birthday of the day next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback, player, coaching, and the boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet on something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL game day. Check out the Everydayer Club. If you haven't already, you get access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Islanders that's compatible with all the major podcast networks, Apple Podcast, Spotify, etc. And you'll get an invitation to the members-only Locked On Islanders Everydayer Club Discord server. I'm on there. Always happy to answer your questions and talk with you and share some information. I will share it with you guys first. So check that out. Again, the link is in the show notes, or go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer for more information. Islanders back on the ice Saturday in game 2 of this 7-game road trip, and it's a tougher assignment. The Minnesota Wild, who are one of the better teams in the league. They're in third place in their division, but they're also third best in the NHL standings. 25, 11, and 8 right now. But I will say this, they have cooled off a little bit in their last 5 or 6 games, more or less playing around 500 hockey over the last half dozen games. So maybe we're catching them at the right time. But they're 10th in the league in goals scored heading into their game against Seattle, which is still ongoing as of this recording. So they're 10th in the league in goals scored, 6th in goals against. The power play is 11th, 22.4% success rate. But the penalty kill, that's where they're vulnerable. So if the Islanders want to wake up their dormant power play, this would be a great chance. They're 26, 76.9%. They're getting great goaltending. Philip Gustafsson is the starter. Jesper Wallstedt has been outstanding. He's 11, 2, and he's 11, 2, and 4 with a 2.30 goals against and a 9.26 save percentage. Gustafsson only a 2.48 goals against and a 9.12 save percentage. Obviously, you've got some outstanding talent. Matt Boldy leading the team in goals with 26. Kirill Kaprizov, 49 points. He has 24 goals. Depth scoring is a little bit of a problem, so it'll be vital for the Islanders to take care of the top 2 lines. Right now, Danila Yurov centers Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello on the top line. Joel Eriksson Ek, Marcus Johansson, and Matt Boldy make up the second line. Ryan Hartman, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Vinny Hinostroza are the third line, and Nico Sturm centers Marcus Foligno and Yakov Trenin on the fourth line. On defense, the newly acquired Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber make up a very talented top pair. Jonas Brodin and Jared Spurgeon are the second pair. Jacob Middleton and Damon Hunt, the third pair. We mentioned the goalies, Gustafsson and Wallstedt. Zach Bogosian, by the way, is right now listed as day-to-day. So we'll see how that all plays out. This is a tough challenge. This is a good Wild team. Hopefully, again, they're struggling a little bit, but we'll see if the Islanders can take advantage of it. And scoring on the power play will be an important part of that. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And Saturday will be the 41st birthday of former Islanders center Robert Nilsson, a first-round pick, 15th overall by the Islanders in 2003. Started with the Isles, came over from Sweden in the 05-06 season, played in 53 games, had 6 goals, 20 points, 26 penalty minutes, but then was sent down to Bridgeport and was eventually traded in the Ryan Smith deal to the Edmonton Oilers. And unfortunately, he never really panned out there either. Spent parts of 4 seasons in Edmonton before heading back to Europe, where he finished up his professional hockey career in 2017. 2018, Ryan Smith did help the Islanders reach the playoffs in 2007, but he didn't re-sign with the team. So the trade helped in the short term, but it was a wash in the long term. 252 career NHL games for Nilsson, 37 goals, 118 points, and 90 penalty minutes. And no, he never appeared in a playoff game. one of his better games for the Isles. How about March 21st, 2006? Islanders hosting the Canadiens at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Cristobal Huet, the goalie for the Habs, Rick DiPietro in between the pipes for the Islanders, and the game is tied 1-1 in the second period when our Islanders' birthday of the day, Robert Nilsson, scores his fourth career goal. Chris Campoli and Mike York with the assist. That makes it 2-1 Islanders. And then in the third, Nilsson and Radek Martinek set up Jason Blake midway through the period. That's the insurance goal. The Islanders win it by a score of 3-1. But for Robert Nilsson, he had a goal. He had an assist. He was a +2. And his goal was the game winner. He had 2 shots on goal in 13 minutes and 44 seconds of ice time. Robert Nilsson is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we will be back on Monday. We will have our key takeaways from the game against the Minnesota Wild. Hopefully, we'll get an update on Bo Horvat's situation and when he may be joining the team. And we will also have a 1-minute video up on YouTube shortly after the game against the Wild ends on Saturday. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR-VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for a little instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.